Good morning, everyone. Can we hear Maya? Thumbs up?
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. Maya, keep an eye on the door and we'll allow any stragglers in. I'm Andrew Rock. Lovely to meet you. I'll introduce you to our panel. Just want to say thank you. Some really good friendly faces. Linny, Nick, Richard, Nikos, lots of friends, Alexander. Thank you for turning up. Nice to see a good contingent of men on today's hugely important session. Bonjour, Maud. This is a really safe space. We're going to be circa 45, 50 people, hopefully. Everything that you say today is being recorded because we're going to share this once we finish today's program. We're going to be exactly 35 minutes and we'll be in and out, but we'll cover off a number of very, very important topics. Just to let you know, this is a webinar on sexual harassment and sexual assault. We will be covering off bullying and other forms of harassment next month in a further webinar where we'll cover off those topics. And we're looking at doing something every month that's pertinent and relevant to yachting. So I'm just going to quick intro myself. I'm Andrew Rock. I founded the Crew Academy 16 years ago. We teach a number of subjects. But why are we here? We're here to sort of create dialogue and open up this subject for a more open discussion. Going to introduce Erica Lay. Hi, Erica.
Yeah, so hi everyone, I'm Erica. I own El Cruco. I've been a crew agent for the best part of 20 years. Good grief. And I've made it my business during that time to basically be in everyone else's business when it comes to looking out for improving crew welfare, working conditions, and so on. And I've been working with clients and captains and other industry leaders for many years to keep pushing for positive changes throughout the industry. So if you know me or follow me, you know I have a zero tolerance for any bad behavior. I might call it out. And I'd just like to say to anyone who tries to disguise harassment as it's banter, you're using that word wrong, so just stop. And I hope everyone's here just to learn a little bit about what we can do better, what the right processes are, and how we can help each other. Thanks.
Thanks, Erica. Angie.
Well, hello, everybody. I'm sure that actually quite a few people do already know me. I have held webinars before, but I'm Angie. I have purser trainer, so I train pursers and also mental health and well-being on board yachts. I have a vested interest in the welfare of crew. As a previous PYA director, I headed the welfare group. And so, yeah, passionate about the welfare and safeguarding of crew. Thank you, Andrew.
Thanks, Angie. And the wonderful Emma Kate Ross.
Hi, everyone. I'm Emma, as Andrew just said. I am the co-founder and director of a company called Seize the Mind. We bring mental health first aid training on board boats, and we've made it specific to seafarers, and I'm really glad to be part of this conversation. I actually started Seize the Mind because I wanted to keep that corridor of communication open. As a ex-yacht chef myself, I've navigated and had to support people on board and ashore with the topics that we're about to cover in the next half an hour. And Seize the Mind was my way of making sure that I could still keep some communication. So as older women get kicked out of yachting, as we know, I wanted to make sure that younger women, I still could chat to them, support them, and help out where needed.
Thanks, Emma. Wonderful. And Maya's hosting us today, our head of marketing. So thanks, Maya, for getting everyone in today. So this subject is quite personal to me. I often share with my students, I was a victim of child sex abuse when I was 8 and 9 years old. So I have been at the harsh end of this subject. My older son has been through the other side of it last year and was accused of a crime that didn't go forward, horrendous for him, for the family, and for his ex-girlfriend. So we have seen this really personally from a personal, myself and my older son, and then the impact on my wife, my daughter, and my other son. What is appropriate? What is not appropriate? I've also spent a lot of time analysing my past behaviour as a man growing up. And was I at all ever guilty of harassment, verbally, physically? And I will probably put my hand up and say, yes, I probably have behaved badly during the course of my life. And I'm glad now to be able to be, open and honest and talk about this subject and say, what can we do collectively better? It's great to have Erica, Angie, Emma, myself, who are all different individuals, different businesses, all trying to bring this subject to the forefront of discussion. We're currently dealing with a number of cases on board boats, major cases involving multiple victims through the UK police forces, but also individual cases since January, 4 cases that we've helped young female crew through. A sexual assault in St. Martin, French captain, South African 27-year-old crew member, very blurred lines of leadership, of responsibility, of putting an individual in a vulnerable situation alone that led to an assault. A case recently at the Monaco Yacht Show, a French captain on a 37-meter, post the race on the Sunday, a vulnerable 23-year-old on her first boat, taken upstairs onto the top deck, given a massage, incredibly inappropriate behavior by a senior leader. Again, what are the lines? Are they blurred? How do we bring clarity to them? The bigger cases we're working on, we can't discuss today because they involve multiple police forces, lawyers, etc. But let's be clear, we can't belittle the victims, and we need to understand what the process and the laws are for us to all follow. Sexual harassment is defined as making unwelcome, unwarranted, and inappropriate remarks and physical advances in a workplace or any other professional or social situation. Read the room, read the person. Sexual assault is clearly defined in the UK at 3 levels. Level 1 is rape, level 2 is penetration, and level 3 is any form of sexual violence, groping, forced attention, kissing, touching. They're very, very clearly defined in the UK, but the European, Caribbean, US, Australian, New Zealand police forces define these differently. The Italians have different definitions, as do the French. So currently we're going through a number of cases, and it is incredibly difficult because where those attacks happened have to be defined by local law. So what we define in the UK is possibly not what we define in Italy. So hopefully today we'll come out with a better sense of understanding of what we need to do locally, as well as collectively. I'm going to pass over to Angie. And Angie, shall we go through the process of what to do if we feel we've been subject to either of these?
Exactly. So thank you, Andrew. I just want to say that both Andrew and myself and Maya, we and the others, Emma and Erica, we got together and we wanted to create a document that we will be passing out to you guys with a recording of this webinar, which will give you the information that you need to report procedures for a sexual assault on a yacht. So we're looking at what actually is sexual assault, which Andrew has very kindly kind of given us a bit of an idea about, and why reporting is so crucial. Because if you don't report, A, this sort of behaviour will continue, and B, we are facilitating the perpetrators to continue. And unfortunately, as Andrew has alluded, there is different in jurisdictions, and there's not enough cross information on the jurisdictions as well. So we really do need to be forward in reporting. And I know it's scary, but we are here for you. And you can reach out to any one of us and we will hold your hand and take you through this process. But you do need to have some information to hand. And so naturally, sort of things like, when you join a yacht, take note of the contact details of the management company, the owning company, the DPA, your P&I insurance, the employer's liabilities insurance. It has to be posted in a public place for you as crew to access. So take a screenshot of it. If it's not there, ask for it. It should be there. And of course, when you do get your contract, you should get a contract when you get on board. You know, it will have who are you working for, because it's not the boss that comes on, it's the owning company that's on your SEA, your contract. That's who we need to go after as well. So make sure that you have all of these details as well. What to do after an incident? Note everything down. What's actually happened? Have you got any physical evidence? Are there any bruising? Is there any torn clothing? Any physical evidence, take a photo of it. If there's witnesses, get their statements. And again, we can help you with facilitating an affidavit so that we can get this all in order with you as well. So, and just to note that recording somebody, it is a bit of a grey area. I'm really, really sorry, because legally you have to get their permission. Who's going to give you that permission? But if you do have a secret recording, then it does actually help the case along with the police. You do need to make a police report in your local area where you are. Just to note as well that if you are at sea when an incident takes place, you can contact the flag state of your vessel, and they can facilitate upon your arrival somebody on the dock to take care of your case. So yeah, make a report. Get that sorted, get the police report. If you have been sexually assaulted as well, go to the hospital, get a hospital report, that together with a police report, get to management company. If they blockade you, come to us. So this document, very useful information. As I say, it's going to be available to you as part of the documentation that we're going to send you in an email with the recording. Back to you, Andrew.
Thanks, Angie. Wonderful. Emma.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. So, yeah, I'm just going to chat a little about boundaries. And like most of you, in my experience, most crew are a really solid lot. We're most likely to help each other dodge a sleaze bag than actually be one. But unfortunately, they are kicking around where maybe we even know one. So if the worst does happen, I know that we're definitely in a better place than we were, but it's still good to kind of set boundaries and make sure that you're consistent and you're communicating those boundaries. And the boundaries, I think, you know, especially on board boats that are going to be really important is your personal space. So, you know, just kind of making sure that you communicate to your crew, if you're an HOD, that people are not allowed to just go into each other's cabins without permission. That privacy, the only space we have on a boat is a cabin. So just maybe kind of, you know, when it comes to personal safety, have clear guidelines on designated areas for kind of crew, designated areas for just crew that's private, like their personal space and alone time, especially in our cabins. Respect for personal property as well, but also, you know, in professional interactions as well. I think as well, because it's a blurring of lines, we live together, we work together, we go on holidays together, we party together. Sometimes even the professional interactions can become a little bit blurred. So as long as everyone's kind of understands their roles and responsibility, there's clear, open communication, you know, encouraging that open, respectful communication between crew members. I know that Eric has already alluded to banter. Even within that subject, there's different types of banter. There's friendly banter, where everyone is in on the joke. There's ignorant banter, which is just, you know, as it sounds. And then there's malicious banter. So even understanding the difference between those and making sure that we are taking action if it's ignorant banter, and we're definitely taking action if it's, you know, if it's the worst kind of banter. Try and avoid gossip and negative talk, social behavior. especially when it comes to alcohol and substance misuse, just making sure that everyone understands the boundaries. If everyone's drinking on board, it's in a kind of a safe space. Also kind of, respect moves all the way up and all the way down. So respect for the captain's authority as well. They're ultimately responsible for the safety and the well-being of the yacht and its occupants. And then also just kind of in terms of safety, making sure that you are as safe as possible. Until we have a perfect world, and we're not even close to it yet, that's looking out for each other, making sure that you don't leave someone behind in a bar, making sure that, everyone is going out together and hopefully everyone's coming back together, and just really kind of setting those boundaries. And I've had lived experience, much like Andrew kind of alluded to, so I know how easy it is to blur the boundaries, or how easy it is to kind of have your memories of the night before suddenly become collective memories, and maybe just kind of, just get a little bit kind of gray areas. And again, I think it's really important as we become HODs to get that kind of that multi-generations on a boat, because as you get older, naturally your boundaries become more set, more clear. You have more boundaries, you understand where they've come from, maybe because you've had to learn some hard lessons. So I know Erica is really passionate about recruitment, but it would be so good if we could start kind of making sure that we're creating a space for older people to stay on boats, especially kind of females as well. Because I know how many times I've had my back up against a door with a younger female, with literally someone trying to break down the door. And my heart breaks thinking that there's no one sitting kind of with their back up against the doors now with those individuals. So making sure that we're clear and consistent about boundaries, making sure that we're looking out for each other. It's not just about kind of physical safety, it's also about psychological safety. And as crew, we owe it to the boat to be as healthy as possible, to have physical health, good, robust mental health, to have great social health. But the boats owe us a safe psychological and physiological space to work on. We know why it's so important to do our STCW. We know that we drill those skills because they're so important in terms of physical safety. And we at Seize the Mind are making a big case for also including kind of psychological safety and drilling those skills as well. So lots of information out there. Do a deep dive, see what you come up with, and obviously we'll be able to kind of signpost you if you do need any more information.
Awesome. Thanks, Emma. You speak so eloquently about it. Again, Angie, Emma, Erica, myself, and so many others are here. There's not a week that goes by when one of us doesn't get a WhatsApp message saying, please help, or please help someone I know. Erica, let's hear from you.
Right, well, I'm here to do a bit of a call to action. I'd like to speak to other recruiters out there and, just emphasize the fact that, sorry, I'm losing my voice a bit today, so try not to squeak. We need to take a bit more responsibility for, not just for who we place, because everybody knows we really vet our crew, but then we're just throwing them into a fire. Maybe some of us need to take a bit more responsibility for exactly where we're placing them and do a little background check on those vessels. And in that regard, I'd like to have a little more support from the big management companies who are running these boats and these crew. And I'd like to see management companies making it very clear when, you have a new crew member joining. Obviously, we go through all the safety processes and the emergency stuff and drills and whatnot. I'd love to see a little bit more HR on boats of all shapes and sizes, not just the big ones that are run a bit more corporately, but the smaller ones as well, to say, obviously this is the muster point, this is where the lifeboat is, but yeah, by the way, if you have an issue with something, these are the processes, this is who you can call, and this is who you can talk to. So just so it's almost like a handbook for when you join a yacht, just to give especially the new crew, the brand new crew, an idea of what's going on, because I think sometimes these greenies come into this industry and bless their hearts, haven't got a bloody clue what's going on and what's right and what's wrong. And it's up to the old salty sea dogs among us to help educate them a bit and hold their hand a bit and make sure that we're putting them into the right situations. I don't want to hear any more horror stories. It's exhausting. But I'd be very open to receiving any messages, any input from other recruiters, other management companies, just to say, you know, what we can do together to help. And also perhaps we have a few more transparent lines of communication. So if we do hear about an incident that happens on a yacht, be it, you know, by a captain or in an area, we can spread the word amongst ourselves. You know, I'm not saying blacklist, because we're not legally allowed to blacklist anyone, but you know, it doesn't hurt to share some information if there's criminal, illegal activities happening, does it?
Exactly.
So yeah, that's just my thoughts.
Thanks, Erica. And just remember that the woke have woken up, and they will call you out, and they will do it publicly. And that is something that is more and more happening. Know your rights. You have rights. So exercise those rights. If you're being interviewed, ask to see their sexual harassment and bullying policy during your interview. All interviews are two-way. You're interviewing for a role, and they're interviewing you, and vice versa. So interview your interviewer and ask them. When you do get the role on board, make sure it's in the handbook, and make sure it's updated with the relevant rules and laws with the jurisdictions that you're going to be cruising in. There's no point having a crew manual and it has laws for a destination where you're not going to be. Also discuss it openly. This is a subject that affects all of us. So if it is discussed openly, no matter how hard it is to talk about it, if we do discuss it openly, it makes it more available for people to come forward when they have suffered to actually raise it. We always love people who publish it on their crew mess walls. This is what we tolerate and love. This is what we don't tolerate. You know, banter, again, toxic, friendly, ignorant, abusive. Call it out. If it's published and you can visibly see it in the crew mess on the wall every day, and someone makes a comment, then you can call them out on it publicly. The collective power is really, really powerful when it is exercised. Also, when you do your reviews, crew reviews, talk about the subject. Have you experienced any harassment, any sort of toxic banter, etc.? And that again brings it up formally in your employment reviews. Safeguarding officers, Angie and I, you know, we love our pursers. All our pursers are effectively safeguarding officers. All chief officers and captains should be safeguarding officers. Go and look up the term of what a safeguarding officer should do. Yeah. And again, when you hire a newbie or any new crew, tell them who that officer is on board. Empower someone to be that officer. Reference check your leaders that you're working under. At the end of the day, you must work in a safe, kind, empowering environment, and know who you're working for. Absolutely. Yeah, lots of things for us to digest, but also to call to arms.
Absolutely.
May
I just jump in as a little, because I know that there are many boats out there that actually aren't managed by a management company, because we say, oh, just go to the management company, go to your DPA. Perhaps you don't have one. That's why I said in the reporting procedures, look at who is signing that contract. That is who you go to. And please do not take into consideration that your perpetrator says, you've signed an NDA, you can't do jack diddly squat. You can. If a crime has been committed, and sexual assault is a crime, harassment is a crime, your NDA doesn't hold up. So just please take that to heart, and that don't be afraid to report because of an NDA. Thank you, Andrew. Sorry, just want to jump in.
Can I jump in there? Can I jump in there? I've just done a deep dive into NDAs, and I've been speaking to lawyers, both sides of the pond about this. And Angie was kind enough to give me her vast amounts of knowledge on the topics as well. And what it all comes down to, wherever you are, an NDA does not cover anything that's illegal. And sexual harassment, sexual assault, it's very much in the illegal part of, you know, there's no grey area. It's black and white there. If anything is going on that vessel that is illegal, your NDA tear it up, throw it in the bin. It doesn't matter. You can report it. Don't be frightened and don't be bullied by anyone throwing that in your face.
Yeah.
Thank you. Carry on.
I'm going to jump in there as well. I'm guessing everyone's on here because they wanted the information. They wanted to be more kind of educated, more empowered by this. In your day-to-day as well, we can also be allies. So ICE1 launched a really brilliant campaign, allyship on board. And so please do a deep dive into that. I think we'll be sharing that with you as well. But just in day-to-day, we can all be allies. If we see behavior, it's exhausting if you are the person that's receiving abuse, discrimination, to constantly be the one that's saying, please don't say that, please don't do that, please don't put that on the group WhatsApp chat. So that's where I think crew can also kind of just jump in and be allies. You know, if you see someone looking uncomfortable with the banter that's going on, just distract, change the subject, or start to talk to that person about something completely random. Ask them a question that just stops. So if, you know, I see kind of Erica chatting around to Angie, I see Angie looking deeply kind of uncomfortable by the conversation, I'm immediately going to intervene. I'm going to ask and I'm going to distract Erica with questions, maybe even pull them out of that space. So on our day-to-day, we can all be allies. It's not just up for the person that's experiencing the harassment to always, you know, stick up for themselves, report it. And we can all be a part of that process as well. We can all protect each other, because that's what going to sea is, isn't it? It's this amazing, brilliant, great adventure that we get to do. And we'd like to return and make sure everyone is enjoying that experience.
Love it, Emma. Yeah, just remember, you know, go through your HOD, to your captain, to your DPA, to the head of the management company, the owner, the founder, call them up. They need to know. The owner rep, hugely important role, or the owners, if you manage to have their details or have a relationship with them. Call it out, call it up, call it across. Yeah. As long as you know that you have legal rights, you have people who care about you, then we can do something. Yachting is this incredible place where we live, laugh, love, learn all together. Yep. And it's a very unique environment. And I'm really glad today to see 50 of you, you know, take half an hour out of your day to come and listen to Emma and Angie and Erica. Just know that you're not alone. Things are changing. And with the likes of Linny Edwards here, hi Lynn, you know, there are so many advocates of good behavior. Let's push it forward and let's make yachting a much safer space for all crew. So thank you everyone for joining. We'll share the recording with you. We'll share the resources with you. If you want to reach out to any of us, Maya will share our personal details. Feel free, share it around. And again, let's support each other moving forward and have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Thanks, everyone.
Questions, Andrew?
Oh, we do. Oh, God. Okay. Oh.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that was super insightful. Thank you, all of you. So the first question is, how do you suggest to approach these topics with a captain who is ignorant and old school, calling out these procedures and precautions as, quote, woke BS?
Go on, Angie or Emma.
Go on, Angie first.
Oh gosh. Do you know what? I've just had an incident that was passed over to me, asking for help, basically pretty much on this subject. And when this scenario was explained to me, my initial reaction was, that's an American captain / owner on a small boat. And guess what? I was right. You're not going to change that mindset, unfortunately. Ex-Marine, American, not going to change that mindset. And I know that sounds probably very sort of prejudicial of me, but you have to be quite honest and say, at that sort of level, you're not going to change that mindset. However, obviously, education is key, and educating in whatever form that you can do to say, well, that sort of behavior isn't right. And a lot of times those people aren't necessarily 100% aware about what they're doing because it's sort of ingrained into them. And so by calling them out on it and saying, well, when you do that, it makes me feel X, Y, and Z. Because then there's like, I didn't realize that. I'm so sorry. Hopefully. At the end of the day, your safety is key. If you feel unsafe, no job is worth it. Walk away. Emma, over to you.
A bit more context. This is from a purser who's planning onboarding, one-to-one interviews, handbooks, etc., but feels like they aren't going to be supported by their captain. So they're thinking about it for themselves, but also for the entire crew.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more with Angie. I'm not sure about kind of creating something. Maybe that's something we can take offline and have a bit of a deeper think about. But yeah, absolutely. That kind of, that old trope of, you know, there's only one boat and you need to stay on board. Yeah, it doesn't kind of slide with me anymore. And I think I'm kind of stealing someone else's quote here, but the problem with the world is intelligent people are full of doubts while the stupid ones are full of confidence. And I think on board, you know, and in life, in any kind of job, some people are kind of, you know, incapable of self-examination or change, and challenging them can be pretty pointless. We know that we need to call out abuses of power. You know, we know that we need to kind of maintain boundaries. But I always think as well, just, you know, as I've kind of got off boats, maybe kind of focusing a little bit inwards and figuring out where our own boundaries are. None of us is really a saint. And I think when it comes to just having conversations, just make sure that you are feeling safe and think about what you want to do. I think we're too quick to jump into kind of, you know, big conversations around the crew mess, and just remembering we still have to live and work with these people. So if you do have something going on, just think about your own safety and where you can have that that conversation in a safe space. It might not be your crew mess, and that's just one of the unique things about yachting. So create your tribe. I think I'm always, the people that have done my training know I'm really kind of, you know, up on having your tribe, and your tribe might not be your boat. Move on, find another boat, find your tribe where you feel safe, where you are seen, where you are respected. And the fabulous Erica's on here in recruitment, so you've got someone on the inside already.
And just to the person out there, I would probably, as you're creating your policies and your SOP, yes, you do pass it to your captain, but you also pass it to your management company. So it, they'll be your support.
Thank you. We have another point here, which is, you know, I'd like to suggest that men also suffer from these experiences as well. What would you say, perhaps Andrew, to men who have suffered from?
Yeah, just know that you're not alone. It does happen across both sexes, all sexes, in fact. But again, you know, shame is one of the hardest things to overcome for all of our victims. It's something that destroys us. And if we can't talk about it, can't have the permission to raise it publicly, but also to take it to the police because of shame, it's not shameful. Just reach out to the relevant and right people and we will support you. Absolutely.
Thank you. How does one go about leaving a vessel if an incident has happened at sea? Super
easy. If you need to be taken off the boat and supported and helped, we did it literally 3 weeks ago. We intervened, we got a local agent to pick the young lady up, we got her flown back from Greece to the UK, and we supported her. That's in a really worst case scenario. At the end of the day, if your DPA, your management, your HODs, your captains, management, none of them are interested, just walk off the boat, just leave. And then talk to Nautilus. If you're not already a member of Nautilus, absolutely join Nautilus. Know your rights, exert your rights, and be as vocal as possible.
Absolutely. Yeah. And just to reiterate, if there is an incident whilst you are at sea, contact your flag state. They will arrange somebody to be at the dock waiting for you when you pull into port.
Absolutely.
Is there scope for exit interviews to be conducted by the recruiter / management companies with both the leaving crew member and their line manager, hopefully in time to prevent cover-ups and dangerous individuals remaining in the industry without being held to account?
I'll jump in on that one as it's recruitment, but yeah, absolutely. I mean, if I placed a crew member and they decide they're going to leave the vessel, you know, and it's unexpected, you know, sort of, I don't know, halfway through a season, I'm all over them, you know, why, what's happened, what's gone wrong? And sometimes it is a case of, you know, my mum's not well, I need to get home, or sometimes it's something, it could be a personal issue, or it, you know, if it is something a bit more sinister, then I'd certainly want to know about it, and I would hope that other recruiters would as well. You know, and it's built into our terms and conditions. So if anybody throws out, you just get your money and then you run away, it's actually built into our terms and conditions that we, you know, that the fees and whatnot that we charge, we don't have to put someone else back into that situation if somebody has provided an unsafe working environment, you know, or if there's been a major change in the job description. So, you know, there's every opportunity. I mean, as with regards to having an exit interview with the person who hired you, I would ask a crew member to do that. I would assume that would happen on the boat themselves. But I would reach out to the vessel as well, the captain, the HOD, and say, oh my goodness, what's happened? Why is that person leaving mid-season? Or, you know, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, Maya. Any more?
We do have a couple more, yeah, if everyone's happy. How can we help crew overcome the fear of reporting due to retaliation, judgment, backlash, or professional consequences?
Oh, what? You'll never get a job again in yachting because I'm so powerful. It's just bullshit. Let's just say that as one. Sorry, it's just not true. But it's a typical act of a bully in terms of silencing individuals to cover up their own behavior. Again, recruiters like Erica and us will look at CVs, we'll look at gaps, we'll look at jumping, and we'll ask the questions why. And in a lot of cases, we ask our candidates to put on the CV the reason they left the boat. Really good. Let's be honest about it.
Yeah, transparency.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I do tell crew, if you felt that you had to leave a vessel because you were unsafe, and that could be your personal safety, you know, or I don't know, maybe the captain's drinking on the job, maybe, you know, the engines are in a terrible state and you shouldn't be leaving port, whatever it is, you can put on your CV, reason for leaving, safety concerns were not addressed, so I stepped off. And good for you. And anyone who looks at you and says, oh, I'm not going to hire you for that, you don't want to work for them anyway. So problem solved, isn't it?
There's also a big challenge with rotational leadership, where you may have an incredibly toxic leader and then an incredibly kind, empathetic leader in any HOD or bridge role. And this is a real challenge for crew, where they stay on board and survive the rotation because they know it will get better for the next rotation. Again, it's not something that you should endure. And I use that word, you know, don't use that word lightly, because enduring toxic leadership in a toxic environment deeply affects you all as individuals. So, you know, be clear, if you're interviewing for a role and you've got an HOD who's on rotation, ask to meet your rotational leader. Absolutely, you should meet both of them.
Thank you. So we have had a few more questions through, but I think we probably need to wrap up. But if you have anything we've not been able to cover, please do feel free to reach out to us and we'll reply to you separately. We're also going to be sending out a series of different resources. So the document that Angie mentioned earlier with the reporting procedures, lots of other resources, you know, places that you can go for support, you know, whether you're, you know, thinking about yourself or for the crew that you're managing or just want to be an ally. So thank you so much everyone for joining and for your attention and for your questions, and to our wonderful speakers as well.
Thank you so much, Maya. Thank you to Andrew.